worship we have here tonight. Good to see you guys. We're going to sing 620. 620. After Psalm last 100, if you will, listen to word prayer. 620. There is room in the kingdom of God, my brother, for the small things that you can do. Just a small kindly deed that may cheer another is the work God has planned for you. There is room, there's a place in the kingdom of God for you. There is room, there's a place, there is work that we all can do. Just a cup of cold water in His name given, may the hope in some heart renew. Do not wait to be told, nor by sorrow driven to the work God has planned for you. There is room, there's a place in the kingdom of God for you. There is room, there's a place, there is work that we all can do. There's a place in the service of God for workers who are loyal to Him and true. Can't you say to Him, I will leave the shirkers and the work God has planned I'll do. There is room, there's a place in the kingdom of God for you. There is room, there's a place, there is work that we all can do. Let's pray.
First of all, Lord, we thank you for allowing us to come here tonight, be able to worship you in song, scripture, and prayer. At this time, we ask that you help us clear our minds so we may give you our undivided attention, be able to take in what you have to teach us tonight and be able to apply it to our lives. We ask that you open our hearts and take it in a manner well-pleasing to you. We thank you for this time, and we thank you and pray in your Son's heavenly name. Amen.
If you would, mark your songbooks at page 522. 522 will be our song of invitation after class. Now we'll go to our classes.
All right, we are studying the book of Proverbs. All of the questions that we'll cover tonight are on the board. If anybody wants one of our Proverbs books, I printed off 6 more of them back there. Gave one of them to Savannah, but we've got 5 more books back there that are printed off and available if you want them. We last time went through, I wrote down through verse 18 of Proverbs chapter 3. So we covered it on Sunday morning. So we're in the middle of the long discussion right here at the beginning where the same topic keeps coming up over and over and over again. It's the topic of wisdom. Why should we seek wisdom? That wisdom is the very first topic because it's essentially saying, here's why you should listen to the rest of the book, right? If the rest of the book is giving you wise sayings on a number of different topics, wisdom is the very first one that we're going to attach to. So in where we got to on Sunday morning is verse 19 and 20. So verse 19, this is the CSB, says, the Lord founded the earth by wisdom and established the heavens by understanding. By his knowledge, the watery depths broke open and the clouds dripped with dew. The question was, explain how 3 verses 19 and 20 fit into the teachings about wisdom. And what does this mean for us? Why would he start talking about creation here? How does wisdom fit in with this?
Wisdom, that is great knowledge. The wisdom, the order, the precision of that house is what has what what wisdom is into detail. You have to understand the detail that goes into it. And so he starts with creation, where man came from.
Exactly. I think that has a lot to do with it. Anybody want to add to what she said? Or maybe put it into different terms, different wording?
I wrote down, wisdom is even more greatly to be valued when we realize the power of God's wisdom.
Ooh, the power of God's wisdom. That by God's power, he created the world. Levi, please put that down and don't pick it up again. Thank you. Did someone, oh, Emily,
So
yeah.
I had a footnote in mine that said these verses serve as a form of a merism, which I didn't know what that meant, so I looked it up. And it says that's a rhetorical device that expresses a whole, total, or complete idea by mentioning opposite extremes. And it says that it uses how God's wisdom is behind all forces of nature, whether that be the violent breaking forth of the watery forces at creation or the provision of the gentle rain and dew throughout history. So I thought that was interesting.
That's very cool. What was that word?
Merism? M-E-R-I-S-M? I might not be pronouncing that correctly.
M-E-R-I?
S-M, yeah.
All right. We'll have to look that one up later and maybe put that. By the way, these are my notes on Proverbs. So like you guys are helping me build my work that I get to have from now on. So like we're building our own essentially commentary together. I put bucking against the wisdom will lead to disharmony with God's universe, that God has a set plan, but when we buck against whatever the plan is, that we're fighting against the wisdom that created the world. And if you follow God's will, your life will be better. A thought that just came to my mind, which is more on the lines with what Mary Leah was saying, of the greatest minds in the history of the world, you think of incredible physicists that are incredibly deep thinkers, right? Wisdom of the world. What are they able to accomplish with their wisdom? I mean, it might be a lot compared to what a guy from small town Tennessee could come up with, but compare it to what God was able to accomplish by his wisdom.
But ultimately, the provisions that they use are things provided by God.
Exactly. When we look at what type of wisdom should we pursue, if we're pursuing man's wisdom, how far will it get us? Versus pursuing the wisdom of God, which is behind creating everything. When you look at the difference between what God's wisdom was able to produce versus what man teaches about science even, that can only get you so far. The wisdom of God is far greater than the wisdom of men. Which should you pursue, I think, is a good idea in this, of why I think these verses might be in the middle of this section of pursue wisdom. But what kind of wisdom are we pursuing? So let's finish this section, 21 through 26. Lynn, do you mind reading that?
No. My son, let them not depart from your eyes. Keep
Chapter
sound,
3?
Proverbs 3.
Yes, 21 through 26.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay.
New King James Version.
Gotcha.
My son, let them not depart from your eyes. Keep
got
sound wisdom and discretion, so they will be life to your soul and grace to your neck. Then you will walk safely in your way, and your foot will not stumble. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. Yes, you will lie down, and your sleep will be sweet. Do not be afraid of sudden terror, or of trouble from the wicked when it comes. For the Lord will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being caught.
All right. The question is, what are some of the benefits that come from wisdom in this section?
Verses are pretty full of it.
Yeah.
Benefits. We've got life to your soul, grace to your neck. You won't stumble. Won't be afraid. You have sweet sleep. Confident.
Why is it that we get to sleep sweetly?
Because God provided safety and no stumbling.
That's right. If If I am always lying and cheating other people, what I always have to worry about is I have to worry about keeping my lies straight. And maybe someone that I've hurt is going to try to come back and hurt me. Like, if I'm not following God's way, I always have to walk scared. But when I am maintaining sound wisdom and discretion, I get to live. Like, this will be life for you. You pursue God's way. General truth is you're going to have a better life. And you don't have to worry about stuff. It's,
When you think about this from another point, God's wisdom is so high. What did he think of? He thought of creation, but did he just think of that and that stop? No, because he had the waters, he had the land, he had everything in mind. Well, how to take care of his creation. So the idea to me is do good.
do good. And that's definitely going to lead into this next section of verse 21 through 35. It leads into how should we treat others based, I think that was well put, based upon God's creation. It's now going to teach us how we should treat others. So let's read this last section, 27 through 35. So, Tommy, do you have that? Do you mind reading?
Sorry,
27 through 35. Sorry, I saw you writing over there, and I still called on you.
Okay, 27. When it is in your power, don't withhold good from the one whom it belongs. Don't say to your neighbor, "Go away, come back later, I'll give it tomorrow," when it is there with you. Don't plan any harm against your neighbor, for he trusts you and lives near you. Don't accuse anyone without cause, when he has done you no harm. Don't envy a violent man, or choose any of his ways, for the devious are detestable to the Lord, but he is a friend to the upright. The Lord's curse is on the household of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the righteous. He mocks those who mock, but gives grace to the humble. The wise will inherit honor, but he holds up fools to dishonor.
All right. So in this, it gives a lot of just general advice of how to treat your neighbors with wisdom. Right off the bat, what does he begin with?
Basically, it's love your neighbor as yourself.
That's a good way to put it. Basically, love your neighbor as yourself. I think that's a really good way to put that. I might go ahead and just basically, oh, goodness. I like that. There we go. What about this first one there in verse 27 and 28? When it's within your power, don't withhold good from the one to whom it belongs. Can you give an example of that? What would that mean?
Eagerly help others.
You're trying to read what I typed. Okay, that is the next thing that I put on my answers. All right, don't withhold goods from whom it belongs. What does that mean? Withhold good.
If you have the power or the ability to help someone, and you know you can, you shouldn't turn someone down.
Certainly.
You might think, well, if I don't, maybe someone else will step in, and that shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Oh, where is that? Is that in James? The one who knows to do good but doesn't do it, to him it's sin. Someone look up that reference if you don't mind, Emily. Google that real quick because I want to put that in my notes.
Maybe in Timothy.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where that reference is.
You know what
James 4:17.
Uh-huh.
So whoever knows what is good to do and does not do it is guilty of sin.
I like it.
It seems to me that also that this verse 21, I don't mean to back up.
Sure.
But whenever he talks about complying with sound wisdom, which he's been talking about, and discretion. And discretion seems to come into play on all these other verses down through here.
Good
Because
point.
in order to do these, the wisdom is there, but if you don't carry it out, if you don't use the discretion with it, it's really nothing. It's if you hold it all to yourself, if you know to do good and you don't do it, you know what I'm saying? The discretion is as big a part almost to me as the wisdom is.
Absolutely.
It takes both of those.
Yeah, both knowledge and when to insert yourself, when not to.
Right.
When helping someone actually doesn't help them, it enables them into continuing in their sin. Like, it takes wisdom and discretion.
And all through life, we have choices. You know, should I say something? Should I not say something? Should I give that credit or not give credit? I see it a lot in the, you know, the jobs that I've had to where people will almost take an idea from someone else and they use it and it hurts those people. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah, I see a lot of examples of that.
I was going to say, also, my Bible makes reference to Paul wrote in Galatians chapter 6 and verse 10. It says, "So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith."
Good.
And I think a very similar application can be made, because I feel like discretion, a better part of it is discernment, to be able to know what is right, what is wrong, when to do good, when to not do good, in every situation. It's an ability that comes with wisdom.
Yeah, when me handing them money is actually good for them and me handing them money is not actually going to help them any. You know, when something else is required instead. Do you see how this section is going to read a lot more like chapters 10 through 30, where he just brings up a topic and then gives really good advice? He's going to get back to this idea of wisdom, but it's almost like this little tidbit is like a preview of chapters 10 through 30.
You know, and sometimes you can do something to help someone and feel like that you're really helping them. They may not be taking it quite the same way, and yeah, you may be helping them, and you feel good about it, and yet they kind of used you, basically,
Sure.
to help them to get to where they want to get to another spot in their life. But it wasn't the help that they really needed. And I'm thinking sometimes as far as donation or monetarily
Certainly.
anyway, sometimes.
Judith?
I put do more things kindly.
So being kind to other people. Certainly, it's all part of this plan, right? In verse 30, don't accuse anyone without cause when he has done you no harm. Like this, I think I should have put this as a sub point under this one. No accusing them without, that could be, well, frivolous lawsuits, anything where you're bringing someone to court just to make their life harder, to push them down so that you can get ahead. These are types of things that God hates, especially, I mean, when we get to chapter 6, that there are 6 things that God hates, just 7 are an abomination to him, and bearing false witness and telling lies about your neighbor, and bearing false witness is the 9th commandment. Like, it is that level of serious. So God cares very much about that.
And
The trans-
I've got another reference, and this one sounds good, and it's easy to read, but sometimes it's hard to be. It says, "If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all." And that's I think, well, yeah, that's the way we should all be, but that's kind of hard to do sometimes.
Yeah. What's
Romans
that
12:18.
12:18.
Excellent. All right, so the verses 5 through 7 was kind of the big theme in some of my favorite verses in the whole Bible. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not rely on your own understanding. All your ways know him. He will make your path straight. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. So those are just thought questions of what do I need to do in my life to pattern myself better after those verses. We talked about those verses quite a bit on Sunday morning. But if anybody wants to add anything else to that, we can. If not, we can move on to chapter 4. All right, chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. You know, volunteer to read that. Emily, do you mind? Okay.
You said 1 through 9.
Yes, please.
Listen, children, to a father's instruction, and pay attention so that you may gain discernment. Because I give you good instruction, do not forsake my teaching. When I was a son to my father, a tender only child before my mother, he taught me, and he said to me, let your heart lay hold of my words. Keep my commands so that you will live. Acquire wisdom, acquire understanding. Do not forget and do not turn aside from the words I speak. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will guard you. Wisdom is supreme, so acquire wisdom, and whatever you acquire, acquire understanding. Esteem her highly, and she will exalt you. She will honor you if you embrace her. She will place a fair garland on your head, and she will bestow a beautiful crown on you.
Now, by this point in Proverbs, I want to be the little kid that says, Dad, I know, yeah, get wisdom, I get it. You've told me already. Do you see how like, okay, we've talked about wisdom for 3 chapters, and now we're going into it again in chapter 4? I get it, yeah. But do you see that that's actually the point?
And you remember who wrote this?
Right? So many of the Proverbs are written by Solomon. And so when he is talking to his children, what can we learn from this? What are you strongly encouraged to do in verse 1 through 9?
Listen to the instructions of your father.
Yeah, listen to what your dad has to say.
The elder,
Or elders.
someone that's been there, done that, wants to share, maybe keep you from going through some of the same pain that they've been through.
Anybody? It's interesting. The way my version at least reads, right off the bat, it says, listen to a father's discipline. Does anybody have a different word right off at the beginning of?
Mine said instruction.
Instruction. Okay. Interesting. Listen to a father's instruction. Mine says discipline. Pay attention so that you can get understanding. So just listen to what he has to say, right? Other things that I put, get wisdom, get understanding, don't abandon wisdom. All of this is just repeats of what he says already through the first 3 chapters. Why is it so important to repeat this? Again. Understanding. Because we're knuckleheads. And sometimes it takes a lot of repeating before something will break through. But it doesn't matter if you're 10 years old like Levi, or in your young 20s like Jahir, or I'm 40, almost 41, or in your 70s. How many times do you need to hear pursue wisdom? Right? Is there ever going to be a time where like, no, I got that. I don't need to keep looking for that anymore.
And if you think back, I mean, this is just as relevant today as it was back then in Solomon's time, because kids are kids, or young people are, and we've all been there. But sometimes your dad or your grandfather is trying to tell you something that for your own best interest, and you don't really want to hear it. You know, or you know, you think, he don't know, or I know better, you know, or something when you're young. And Solomon knew that. I mean, he's trying to help his son in this very same these few verses. So
it's pretty common throughout the Bible that iteration is used for emphasis.
Certainly.
To stress and to emphasize a matter.
It's sometimes amazing how quickly you forget it when you need it the most, no matter how many times you've been told.
and how many times have you been back and thought about when you've lost a parent or grandparent and think, man, I wish I could talk to them again about something I'm having problems with now, you know,
Sure.
and it's too late.
The end of verse 2, it says, don't abandon my teaching. You ever thought, well, I'm going to do this God's way? And I try God's way for like 30 seconds. And I'm like, well, that didn't work. So I'm going to do it my way instead. Right? A lot of times we're quick to abandon the right way and resort to shortcuts, resort to doing it my way because I don't think God's way is going to work in this scenario, in this situation. Don't abandon the teaching that we're given, especially by God. Go ahead.
I was just going to say in verses 5 and 6, in verse 5 it says, do not forget. And in verse 6, as you were talking about, it says, do not forsake. And it was interesting, forget might be unintentional. You just not paying attention. But forsake means to
Abandon.
it.
Yeah. Okay, so you're in verse 2, yours says forsake. In
Yeah.
verse 2? Okay, mine says abandon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like both of those words for there. Verse 3 and 4. What do we learn from these lessons? Or what has his father done for him? What lessons do we learn from verse 3 and 4?
He started when he was really young.
Yeah. When do you start teaching your kids? When do you start bringing them to church? When they're no longer annoying? You know, they may interrupt services by crying out. Is that when you start? No. Like, you got to start very early on. Teaching and training. And it can be just simple singing of songs that they're going to hear their entire life. It starts, Isaac's age right now, where it starts early. You train them when they're young. Yeah.
I was gonna say that verse kind of paints the picture of the cycle of teaching your children. So like it obviously shows the example that this father is teaching his son, but it also says my father taught me, and therefore you should teach your son, and that son should teach his son, and so on. Just a cycle of passing down what is true.
Whose responsibility is it to teach their children? Well, it can be father and mother. Certainly mother has a role to play in that. But whose responsibility does it really fall on to make sure that God's way is being taught and being followed? Is it falls on fathers. That is the dad's role. I remember watching, it was a movie or a show, and they were picking jury selection or whatever. They were at, are you a Christian man? Yes, I am. And then, all right, I accept him as part of the jury. And then the other guy gets up and says, well, how much do you know about the Bible or whatever? He's like, I go to work, I worry about this life, and my wife worries about the next. And then that guy's like, I accept him on the jury. It was just this idea that of the man saying, I'll let her handle worrying about the next life. I'll make sure we've got bread on the table. I'll worry about this life. And a lot of times we can get so caught up in the day-to-day that we forsake the stuff that's really important, like training children. Teach them while they're young. Give them the I've been there. Don't pretend like you're faultless, because your kids are going to see your faults more than anyone else has ever seen your faults. Your kids are going to see that. And it's more than just teaching them behavior. You notice the words that he says here, that is to pursue wisdom and understanding. It's not just do this because it's right. It's here's what the right thing is to do, and then let the right thing, the wisdom, then guide your actions. You don't just pound actions, pound behavior. You've got to change hearts behind them. Teach the Lord's wisdom, why behavior matters. The goal, in a lot of ways, for a father is that your children outdo you in knowing God's wisdom. That's what I want my kids to do, is if whatever wisdom I have, I want to impart to them, and then them outdo me in that.
I mean, that's what happened with Solomon and his father.
Sure. Then here we have, I just put it in the middle. What is the beginning of wisdom?
Fear of the Lord.
Yeah, the fear of the Lord. That's a direct quote from chapter 9, verse 10. Chapter 1, verse 7 says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Chapter 9, verse 10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. That to have the real kind of wisdom, the wisdom that really matters, you need to pursue the right kind. But this idea in verse 7, wisdom is supreme, so get wisdom. Whatever you else get, understanding. Cherish her. She will exalt you and embrace her. She will honor you. She will place a garland of favor on your head. She will give you a crown of beauty. That if you seek wisdom, your life will be better. Life will be beautiful. Is the general truth. All right, the next section, verses 10 through 19, you have these two paths, two ways. You have, again, the contrast between the lady wisdom and the seductress. And then these two are going to be compared once again. We can read verses 10 through 19. Brandon, do you mind? Or Hunter? Either one. Go ahead.
Hear my son, and accept my words, that the years of your life may be many. I have taught you the way of wisdom. I have led you in the paths of uprightness. When you walk, your step will not be hampered. And if you run, you will not stumble. Keep hold of instruction, do not let go. Guard her, for she is your life. Do not enter the path of wickedness, and do not walk in the way of the evil. Avoid it. Do not go on it. Turn away from it and pass on, for they cannot sleep unless they have done wrong. They are robbed of sleep unless they have made someone stumble, for they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. But the path of righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day. The way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know over what they stumble.
All right. Sorry, I forgot. The seductress doesn't come till chapter 5. So we're talking about the difference between the right way and what these gang leaders are saying, right? What are the benefits listed in 10 through 19?
Well, it goes back again to talking about adding years to your life,
Mm-hmm.
which is a common theme through Proverbs.
Absolutely. We all want to have our lives be full, right? The people whose lives are cut short in Proverbs, it isn't due to accidents. It's due to making bad decisions. Ecclesiastes will talk about people that live rightly but have accidents happen to them. In general truth in Proverbs, if you do what's right, your life will be good and it'll be long, right? What is it? It's the fifth commandment. Honor your father and mother, for you will have a long life, right? If you do what your parents say and you honor them, that blessing comes with it. What else?
Your steps won't be hindered and you won't stumble.
Yeah, you won't stumble when you run, and your steps will not be hindered. Anybody ever go hiking in a place that's just really, really hard hiking, where you're having to climb over stuff all of the time? Those trails are hard. It's hard when you're always hindered by new things and obstacles that are in your way. How do you keep from these obstacles, your way being hindered? Is by having the paths be straight and easy. How is it that we have these straight and easy paths. Verse 11, I'm teaching you the way of wisdom. I'm guiding you on straight paths. When you run, you will not stumble. It's just the smallest thing can trip you up when you're running. How is it that wisdom, I think of running as like, I'm going full speed in my life, right? Are there going to be places where I can stumble? How is wisdom going to keep me from stumbling?
I think of the part where it talks about how our path grows brighter and brighter. And for me, it's that it's not necessarily that there won't be things that you'll stumble over, but you're going to see them coming, and you're going to know how to navigate that. Because when we are following God's wisdom, even when we encounter struggle, we will know how to navigate that because it's laid out for us.
How can you identify false teachers? How is it that you can identify that's not the path I need to take right now? Is because you've prepared well ahead of time.
And even when you find yourself with roadblocks such as grief or hardships or conflicts, that's all laid out for us of how we're supposed to handle that. And so if we're following what we're supposed to, yes, you're still going to be grieving or you're still going to have conflict, but you're going to be able to manage that in a way that is easier than if you're stumbling around blind and your path's not lit.
Absolutely. It's just being able to see is this idea and comparing that to wisdom. It's brilliant. All right, so he lists 6 ways to avoid the path of the wicked. So count them off, verse 14 and 15. Here's my translation anyway. Verse 14, keep off the path of the wicked. Don't proceed on the way of the evil ones. Avoid it. Don't travel on it. Turn away from it and pass it by. How many, like he says it 6 different ways. How serious does he mean this? If he repeats it 6 times, stay away from the path of the wicked one. Don't walk on it for a little way. Get away from it, right? Just how stay away from the things that evil people do. That once you start, it's hard to stop the momentum, right? Is just avoid it, don't travel on it, turn away from it, pass it by. Just leave it alone. And it gives, and this section really does set up and prepares for the Proverbs of the rest of the book. And this whole section, he keeps going back saying, my son, listen to me. And it's really up to the son to decide, am I going to heed these words or not? Am I going to listen to what he says or not? That if you start down that path, how hard is it to stop? I'm thinking of some situations and scenarios that I'm having to help people with right now that have been living in sin, and it's very, very hard to get back out of it. But once that momentum's going, how do you stop it? It's far better just to never, ever get close to it. Stay away.
Too, kind of going back to your imagery of like being on a hike. If you don't have trail markers and you get off the trail, it can be really hard to find yourself back to it. And I feel like all of this instruction is kind of acting as trail markers of like, here's how you stay on the path and here's how you make sure you're not going to get lost so that you don't have to try to navigate back. You can just stay on the trail the whole time.
I remember that I can't remember who it was. Well, I won't say the name anyway. I can't remember. But you were studying with somebody that had been married, divorced, remarried, and they were getting very into the study with you, and then how hard that was for them to think that they've really messed up and trying to make a decision on how to fix this. And I don't know if they ever did, but I can't remember now. I remember you and I talking about it.
I've known
That's
very
been a long
few
time ago.
situations where people have decided that the way of God is better than the way that they want to keep living. It's very rare, but it does happen. In this, what happens to the evil ones? They can't sleep unless they have done what is evil. They are robbed of sleep unless they make someone stumble. That becomes their identity. It becomes their life. and they can't even rest unless they are causing trouble for other people. Contrast that to the sleep of the righteous. Sleep of the righteous is sweet. You don't have to worry. This person can't sleep unless they do something evil. How far away from God they are. If you start down their path, that's where you head. And they eat the bread of wickedness, drink the wine of violence. The verse that Emily was referencing, verse 18, the path of the righteous is like the light of day shining brighter and brighter until midday. The longer you pursue righteousness, the easier walk is going to get. You have someone who comes right out of the world, who is a brand new Christian. How hard is making decisions and coming out of worldliness and not being around friends that are tempting them to do evil? That's really, really hard. I think of the passage in Ephesians chapter 6 where it talks about take up the shield of faith so that it can extinguish the fiery darts of the devil. If there were flaming arrows coming at you, how big of a shield would you want? I'd want my shield to be huge. If flaming arrows are coming at me, but when you're a baby Christian, how big is your faith? Your shield's tiny. You'll be able to block some of those arrows, but how many of them are going to keep hitting? I want to grow in faith. The longer I grow in faith, the brighter the path gets for me so that I can avoid those stumbling blocks even more. I can block more of those arrows. As I grow in holiness, it gets easier to turn down Satan and turn down temptation. That's what wisdom gets you, by growing your faith. All right. This last section, I really dislike my translation in it. Lynn, I'm gonna ask you or Miss Jane, either one, read verses 20 through 27, because I like almost any other translation than this or the net. I don't like the way they did these. Go ahead.
My son, give attention to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Do not let them depart from your eyes. Keep them in the midst of your heart, for they are life to those who find them, and health to all their flesh. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. Put away from you a deceitful mouth, and put perverse lips far from you. Let your eyes look straight ahead, and your eyelids look right before you. Ponder the path of your feet, and let all your ways be established. Do not turn to the right or the left. Remove your foot from evil.
All right, how many body parts? List them all. Right off the bat, what body parts do you see?
Eyes
Ear.
and the heart.
Ear is first. That's why I don't like the CSB or the because it skips the imagery. This whole section is about body parts, but it just says, pay attention to my words instead of incline your ear. Like, I understand we don't use the phrase incline your ear anymore, but it gets rid of the imagery. That's why I don't like this, the way they did this, all right? I want the body parts. So first is ear, right? And then
Eyes,
eyes,
heart,
heart,
Mouth,
lips,
lips,
Eyelids.
eyelids, okay,
feet,
feet. I think the last one is foot. So feet and foot, right? So like we have, this is all about you control your body. That I want to put my body into subjection, right? And right off the bat, what do we need to do in verse 20?
give attention.
So with our ear, we need to listen, heed, and it's not just good enough to go in one ear and out the other. Where does it need to go to?
Heart.
The heart. This isn't just behavior modification, right, Emily? We don't want to just change behavior. We want to change the heart. We got to get to the heart of the matter and actually make a change that will last. Because if we just give up one bad behavior and we quit it, inevitably we're just going to pick up a different bad behavior, right? We want to actually make it the heart change. I want my heart to pursue God. Next.
Keep them before your eyes.
Yeah, keep them before your eyes. Mine again. Don't lose sight of them. Yeah, it says the same thing, but it's losing the body parts imagery that's really important in the section. Don't lose sight of it, that it should be your goal constantly, right?
Yeah, it's almost like it was like you're watching a TV screen and it's talking to you, but you're also reading the words on the screen at the same time. You're hearing it, but you're also, don't let it get out of your sight.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, he didn't have that back then.
Of course. And then next, in verse 24, what do we guard?
Lips.
Our lips, our mouth. Don't let your mouth speak dishonestly. Don't let your lips talk deviously. How hard is that? According to James, how hard is it to control your tongue? It's almost one of the hardest things to do. But always speak what is, keep devious speech far from you. That what all of this is leading up to now. What I hear, what I see, what's in my heart is what's going to come out of my mouth. And seeking wisdom will then change how I speak. Right? And then eyes once again. Let your eyes look forward. Fix your gaze straight ahead. What does that mean?
We have a goal. We have to shoot for that goal every day. All day, every day.
Do you think that also he's insinuating that your eyes are doubly important about these type of things, because things that you see can distract you and also can influence you in ways of things that you see, and it's not necessarily, you might not hear it, but you see it.
Yeah. What examples of Bible characters do we have of people who got distracted by their eyes and their eyes gave them problems?
Several.
Got a lot more than what I just put.
Solomon's father.
Okay, so David with Bathsheba.
With what he saw,
Yeah, with
top of the roof.
was that?
The pillar of stone when he turns around.
Oh yeah, Lot's wife, the
That's
pillar
a
of
good
salt.
one,
Excellent. She stopped looking straight ahead at where she was headed and looked back. Who else?
Elisha with the chariots.
Oh, he said open his eyes that he can see that there's more with us than there are with them.
Yeah.
Certainly that Elisha's servant wasn't thinking of big picture. Certainly. He needed his eyes to be open.
Peter was walking on the water.
I love that one. Peter took his eyes off of Jesus and got distracted by the wind and the waves. Who else?
Balak, when the donkey was seeing stuff he wasn't seeing.
So Balaam, sure.
Or Balaam, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Balaam. Who in the Bible saw something, desired it, and took it? Eve and Achan saw the stuff in Jericho, desired it, and took it. Who else? Saw, desired, and took. We already mentioned David with Bathsheba. Saw, desired, and took. You think of Lot when he saw the land of Sodom was really good. He desired it, and he took it for himself when he should have deferred to Abraham, and it caused all sorts of problems. The problem of man is we see something, we want it, so we take it. And our eyes can be a very, very big problem. There's Amnon with his sister. There's so many people in the Bible that this is their problem, is their eyes. Their eyes see, they desire, they take.
So do you think someone's blind doesn't have near the problems with temptation that someone with sight does?
I don't know. I'm sure their temptations are different. Everyone has different temptations. So, yes, men have different temptations than women. And so I don't know that any of them are better or worse or easier or harder. Satan knows how to push our buttons, right? And the last one, feet. What about the feet?
And blind people, I've read before that they tend to have enhanced abilities in other ways to make up for the loss of sight. So that could also be something that Satan could use against them.
What about verse 26 and 27? Carefully consider the path for your feet, and all your ways will be established. Don't turn to the right or the left. Keep your feet away from evil. Does somebody have a different version of verse 26? Other than your ways will be established.
Sure is what mine is. Be sure.
Your ways will be sure.
But you know, really, that your feet don't have a brain.
Solid ground.
It really gets down to what you're directing your feet to do,
Certainly.
or allowing your feet to do. So.
What was that, Mary Lee?
I'm sorry, I can't hear, but I would say, he's saying, with wisdom you keep your feet on solid ground. You have a firm foundation for what you do, what you believe, what you teach, how you act.
Absolutely. Having a firm foundation is so important. Yeah.
Mine says another way you could read it is to be steadfast, for your way to be steadfast.
Absolutely. So don't turn to the right or your left. Keep walking straight ahead. Right? That is so important that your feet are actually taking you where your eyes want you to go. Don't stand still. Also, always be moving and growing and pursuing what you're supposed to pursue. All right. Well, we'll end it there. We'll pick up chapter 5 next Wednesday, and of course, we've got more copies of the Proverbs book, and we've got plenty more ink and paper and the little spiral things. We can always make more. So if you know someone who may watch on YouTube or whatever and really wants a copy of this book, we can definitely provide that. So, all right, we'll turn it back over to Mark. Thanks for your attention and comments. I like how many comments we get in this class. It's really, really good. I feel like we're building something together, so I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Where you can, let's all stand as we sing 522. 522. When the trumpet of the Lord shall sound, the time shall be no more, and the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair. When the Savior shall gather over on the other shore, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there. On the bright and glorious morning, when the dead in Christ shall rise, and the glory of His resurrection share. When the chosen ones shall gather to their home beyond the skies, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there.
called up yonder, when the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there.
Well, it's good to see everyone is